Right now, you're comfortable. You can walk into the shade whenever you want. Cold water comes out of a tap. A fan spins above your head. An air conditioner can turn a brutal afternoon into a controlled environment with the press of a button. Now, take all of that away. No fan, no fridge, no bottled water, no electricity, no air conditioning, just the open sun above you, and a summer so hot it starts to feel like pressure on your skin. That used to be normal. For countless generations, your ancestors lived through summers far more unforgiving than anything most people experience today. Entire landscapes turned dry and pale. Rivers shrank into thin lines. Wells failed. Plants stopped growing. Animals scattered in search of survival. The air itself felt heavy, still, and burning. And somehow they made it. You're the proof. Every one of them survived long enough to pass life down to you, which means every single one of them won a fight against heat they could not afford to lose. So how did they do it? How does a fragile, thin-skinned human body survive under a sun that can silently drain life away without a sound? That's what I want to show you, because this is not just a story of comfort or adaptation. It's a survival system built across thousands of generations, and most people never think about it anymore. Let's be honest about what they were facing, because summer sounds harmless. Warm weather, clear skies, a bright day outside. But for most of human history, it was closer to environmental pressure. In dry regions, summer meant drought. Water sources shrank or disappeared completely. Soil hardened into dust. Vegetation collapsed. Food chains broke down, and the human body began to fail long before people realized it. Because heat doesn't attack like a predator, it drains silently. Your brain depends on a narrow temperature range to function. When the body overheats, blood flow shifts, enzymes slow down, and cognition becomes unstable. Confusion comes first, then exhaustion, then organ failure. Eventually, if the heat continues without water, survival becomes impossible. But the real enemy was not just temperature, it was dehydration. You can survive days without food, but without water, the body begins to shut down in hours under extreme heat. So ancient humans built their entire existence around one principle: protect water, find it, store it, and never lose it. They became experts at reading landscapes. Where animals moved, water often existed. Where birds gathered, water was nearby. Where vegetation stayed green during dry months, underground water sources often existed. They followed seasonal rivers, hidden springs, and shallow underground flows that only appeared after rare rainfall. Entire groups reorganized their movement patterns around water availability. If water disappeared, they moved, not as an option, as a necessity. Then came one of the most important survival strategies in extreme heat. Avoid the sun, not fight it, avoid it completely. Human activity shifted into two worlds: the cool hours and the dangerous hours. Work began before sunrise. The trip happened in the early morning. Hunting, farming, and movement all happened when the air was still manageable. When the sun rose too high, everything stopped. This wasn't laziness, it was survival intelligence. Rest became a biological strategy. Staying still reduces metabolic heat production. Shade became protection, and shade was treated like infrastructure. Trees were valuable. Rock overhangs were valuable. Any structure that blocked direct sunlight became a survival zone. Human bodies also learned a secondary defense, not just covering the body, but controlling heat exchange. Loose garments created air gaps that reduced direct solar heating. Natural fabrics like linen and cotton allowed sweat to evaporate. Evaporation is not just cooling, it is thermodynamic heat loss. When sweat turns into vapor, it pulls heat from the skin. This is one of the most effective biological cooling systems ever discovered, but it only works if water is available. So even sweating became a calculated risk. Lose too much water and the system collapses. That is why humans developed cultural systems around hydration. Not just drinking when thirsty, but drinking in cycles. Preparing water before travel. Storing it in containers made from clay, leather, and plant fibers. Some of the most advanced ancient societies built evaporation-based cooling systems. Water stored in porous clay containers slowly seeped outward and evaporated, lowering the temperature of the remaining liquid inside. Even food storage followed the same principle: drying, salting, fermenting, anything that reduces dependence on fresh water. Architecture evolved in the same direction. Homes were not just shelters, they were thermal machines. Thick mud walls absorbed heat slowly during the day and released it at night. This created a time delay effect. Inside stayed cooler while outside reached peak temperature. Ventilation systems evolved in many regions independently. Open courtyards created air circulation. Narrow corridors accelerated wind flow. Elevated structures allowed hot air to rise and escape. In desert regions, some buildings used wind-catching systems that pulled cooler air from higher altitudes and pushed hot air out. Entire cities were designed around airflow before electricity ever existed. But survival was not just architectural, it was geographical intelligence. Human settlements clustered centered around water systems because without water, nothing else mattered. Rivers became the backbone of civilization, not just for drinking, but for agriculture, trade, and cooling. Without stable water access, large populations could not exist. Some communities developed underground water channel systems that transported water from distant sources to dry settlements, reducing evaporation loss and protecting supply from heat. Food preservation also became central because heat accelerates decay, so people developed strategies to extend food life. Drying meat in the sun, smoking it over controlled fires, storing grains in sealed containers, fermenting dairy into long-lasting products. Every method had one purpose: survive the next dry cycle. Even travel patterns adapted. Movement often shifted to nighttime in extreme climates. When the sun dropped, temperatures became survivable again. Stars replaced daylight as navigation tools. Human beings learned to read the sky as a map. Heat also shaped social structure. Knowledge became survival currency. Who knew water sources? Who understood seasonal patterns? Who could read weather shifts? These people held authority because information meant survival. One mistake in judgment could destroy an entire group. One correct decision could save hundreds. And unlike modern systems, there was no backup, no emergency service, no external rescue, only collective memory and shared experience. Heat also shaped the human body itself. People living in hot climates for long periods developed stronger sweating responses, more efficient cooling systems, better heat tolerance. This process is called acclimatization. The body adjusts slowly to repeated heat exposure. Blood flow becomes more efficient. Sweat glands activate earlier. Salt retention improves. But even this adaptation has limits. Beyond a certain threshold, biology fails, which is why survival depended not just on the body, but on environment design. Shade, water, timing, behavior. Everything had to work together. And when it did, humans didn't just survive heat, they organized life around it. Civilizations rose along rivers not by coincidence, but by necessity. Agriculture depended on predictable water cycles. Trade routes followed reliable water access. Cities expanded only where heat could be managed. Without cooling systems or mechanical aid, geography dictated survival. Water was not just a resource. It was structured. It shaped culture, economy, and movement. And still, despite all this complexity, the core truth remains simple. Survival in extreme heat was never about strength. It was about timing, knowledge, and discipline, knowing when to move, when to stop, when to store, when to conserve, and when to wait. Here's the part that gets me. Today, when summer becomes uncomfortable, we don't adjust our lives. We adjust the environment. We change the temperature of the room instead of changing our behavior. But for most of human history, there was no separation between body and environment. The heat was not an inconvenience. It was a constant condition that shaped every decision. The same sun that could kill them also built entire civilizations. It decided where cities could exist, how people worked, what they wore, and how they lived. We mastered summer so completely that most people forgot it was ever something we had to survive. But for most of human history, every hot season was a test, and every cool night meant you had earned another day of survival.